Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Investigamer, and before I get to the topic at hand, I'd like to make one quick announcement. I'm doing a Q&A video, a question and answer video in about a week's time. So right now, pause this video and leave your question down below that you'd like me to answer. If you don't have a question, well, don't pause it and keep watching. But if you do, pause it, leave me a question right now down in the comment section that you'd like me to answer. And I will do that in my next video. Or not my next video, but a video in about a week's time. As for the topic of this video, the year 2013 in gaming gave us a pretty decent list of games. Some decent games, quite a few actually. It was a lot better than 2012, which was a terrible year. 2012 was a disaster. Like, almost nothing that great came out in 2012. Very few hard-hitting games. But 2013 kind of rebounded. We had quite a few memorable titles. Grand Theft Auto, Last of Us, BioShock, and so on and so forth. So what was my favorite game of 2013? Well, you already know. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title of the video, so you know my favorite game of 2013 was Gone Home. Now, this isn't my best game. I don't choose this as the best, most artfully great, most technically astonishing game, all that stuff. No, it's not the best game of 2013. I'm not going to sit up here and try to, oh, no, that one's pretty good. Oh, that one, they messed up there. No, I'm not going to sit up here and try to judge every aspect of every game that came out in 2013 that I played and then choose which one is better than the others. I don't like putting games in competition. The only true competition that I can honestly make judgment of is the game that impacted me the most, that had the biggest effect on me, and that, ladies and gentlemen, was Gone Home. I loved Gone Home, and I know a lot of people are probably shrugging or giving me the, ugh, you too, ugh, who can like that game treatment, but I liked it. I liked Gone Home. I loved it. It had the biggest impact on me. And in order to explain why Gone Home was my favorite game, I'm going to tell you the story as to how it became my favorite game, and then I'll address some criticism that people have levied at the game, and why I think that criticism isn't deserved. Now, Adam Sessler, a guy that I admire, I love his videos, I love his reviews, he's really smart, he's really funny sometimes, he's got a great head on his shoulders. He also chose this as his game of the year, and by the way, I did not know that before I made my decision, or at least before I played the game and was awe-inspired by it. I found out shortly afterwards that it was his favorite, and that really interested me, but that did not influence my decision. This game really did impact me, and let me tell you the story as to why. The month was December. The day, I have no idea. It was the weekend before Christmas. This last Christmas, obviously. I was going through a pretty bad depression. I've gone through several stages of depression all throughout my life, mainly after I hit that age of 17, which was 2 years ago. Almost 3. And things have really been kind of rocky in the past 2 years of my life. They've been shady at best, just not the best years of my life. And because of that, I've hit all these stages of depression, and this last one I hit in December was pretty bad. It wasn't the worst, but it was pretty bad. And this is the first time I've actually lived alone and hit a terrible state of depression. I live in this apartment it's a one-bedroom apartment. It's not that big, but it's a nice apartment. It's a really nice apartment. I like it. I've got this nice, this is a love seat. I've also got a couch with the same similar style. I've got a nice bed. I've got a nice little cozy apartment here, but it gets lonely because I don't have anyone here. I don't have any pets. I like to get a pet cat, but it's lonely, and going through a depression when you live by yourself is hard. So I decided, I elected that I was going to step out of my apartment and drive down the road to where my parents live, where I used to live, and just stay the weekend with them. Try and get the depression off my mind, try and just sit back in my old bed, watch Netflix, and get away from the world. Set my problems aside. Don't make videos or anything like that. Just get away. So I did that. And the next night, admittedly, I was under the influence of narcotics. I'd taken sleeping medication, and for some reason, I woke up like 3 a.m. and couldn't sleep while I was under medication. I couldn't sleep. So I decided, fuck it, I want to play a video game. I want to play some video games, something that I've never played before. So I got in my car, my little Hyundai Accent, and I drove back to my apartment. I got in here. Everything is totally quiet. It is a still quietness in this place. And it's dark outside, like pitch black, and nothing is going on. I live in this apartment complex that's a bunch of rich, white, old fucking people, just boring people in general. Every once in a while, I'll have a nice conversation with them, but in general, just really boring neighborhood. Nothing ever happens here. And so it's just really quiet. And I get into my apartment, I light some candles because I want to get the mood up so I can play my video games, get on my computer, sit down in my nice luxurious chair, put the headphones on. Headphones, that's important when you're trying to immerse yourself. And I start looking through my Steam library, just scrolling down the list like, what do I want to play? Something I've never played before. Oh, these games I just bought in this new Steam sale. They have the Steam holiday sale. I snagged like 30, maybe 40 games during that sale. And I come across Gone Home, and I'm looking over the information on it, and it looks kind of like a horror game, like based on the artwork that I see. It could be like an exploration horror game, maybe a haunted house or something. And so I decide I'm going to fire this thing up. I'm going to play this. I'm going to have my headphones on and just get totally immersed in it. And I play Gone Home. And a few minutes in, I'm walking around, sneaking around this house, looking around every corner, just running over to the light switches and turning them on so I get the lights on so I can check to make sure nothing's there and nothing jumps out at me. And I start to realize from doing this isn't a horror game. Nothing's going to jump out at me. It's a first-person exploration game. That's all. Some people might be put out by this. Some people might find this as a bummer. Some people might say, ugh, one of these. But me, no. I gave it a chance. I kept going. I'm like, I'm going to find out what this story is. I'm going to listen to this narrative. I'm going to explore this place. I'm going to get into it. So I'm picking up stuff. I'm looking at it, turning it over in my hands, kind of like you do in L.A. Noire, one of my favorite games, by the way. And the story starts unfolding. They have this narrator, this female narrator that's supposed to be your sister in the game, who comes on in your head and talks to you and recounts her story, her journal entries, her diary entries. And as she's telling this, I'm like, this is a really good narrator. She's totally into it. I can believe she's a real person who's actually living the stuff that's happening. That's what made it believable. That's what sold this so well. Along with that, the house feels lived in. Like everything, it's like they just dropped it right as it was as the people left. Like, you can tell there were people living here. And they have left, and you need to find out where they went and why they left. And the entire atmosphere feels like they could have just made this game off of actual events, real people, real house that actually happened. It's like they walked into a house after something happened, and they have their laptop out, typing along some code, like, oh yeah, that's what happened, yep, and they're like crafting this game based on something that actually happened. That's what I felt like. I know it didn't happen, I know it's all fictional, but it was so believable and sold so well, this illusion. And as I'm unwrapping this beautiful, beautiful story, I realize it's a love story, a romance. Again, an area where someone might have been turned off of the game. Or someone might have said, no, and then hit escape and been done with it. But not me. I was in the mood to just go all the way with this fucking thing and just finish it. And in one sitting, find out the mystery behind Gone Home. So I did just that. I just kept going. I soldiered on. And I was liking it. I was liking the atmosphere. I was loving the fact that it was so believable. I was getting into the story. I was actually getting connected with the characters. I was relating to the characters even though you never even see them. I mean, you see them in pictures, but you, for the most part, just hear her, one of the girls, and read writings and notes and snippets and diaries of the people that this is taking place with. You never actually see them. And that's the beauty of it. You get involved and you interact with their story, but you never have to see them. You never have to, have their face jutted right in front of your screen like, hey, this is what's going on with me. No, it's none of that. It's not like in Killzone where the guy gets right up in your face like, Lucas, you have to do this. No, none of that shit. It's told as you unveil it. The gameplay, or the story is told through the gameplay, through what the character does, instead of just forced right in your fucking face, like so many games do today. I love that, when a story can actually be told through the gaming medium, because if the story is just forced on you and they do nothing new with the gameplay, why make it a game in the first place? I don't understand. I've said this in the past. Anyways, I'm going off on tangents. The point is, I love Gone Home. And probably what sold it finally as my game of the year was the ending, was how it turned out. Because as I've described, I love how this game was working. I love how believable it is. I love the atmosphere, the music, also the music, not only just the background music, but the bands, the Riot Girl bands that go with the 90s story and the cassette tapes and the NES. I gotta admit, there was some nostalgia that probably influenced my score, but all of that aside, there was also this great ending. This love story is just building and building to what I expected to be a tragedy, a miserable conclusion, some bullshit Shyamalan-like twist at the ending that was going to be thrown in at the last second. I knew, as I was playing the game, I knew that the developers were going to throw in some stupid, annoying, just ruin the whole thing with this tragic ending. That I'm going to, go up to where the final conclusion happens. Try not to spoil anything here, but I might be forewarned of that. And I expected there to be like a suicide or a double suicide or a homicide or a double homicide. Or there's going to be a fucking dead person on the floor, and I'm going to have to deal with this shit. That's what I expected the whole time as this is developing. And as I'm getting closer and closer and closer, suddenly, out of fucking nowhere, I'm surprised, and they flipped it on me. They took the ending I was hoping for, but knew wasn't gonna happen, and made it happen. And I was like, what the? Whoa. And it really impressed me. I loved it. I loved the fact that it was an ending I predicted, but did not expect. I've said before in my BioShock review that the games I love most are the ones where I don't see the next thing coming. And that was Gone Home. Gone Home was probably the ultimate 2013 game when it comes to not seeing the final conclusion. Maybe not more than BioShock. I can't speak of Last of Us, but anyways, Gone Home surprised me in that regard. It probably didn't surprise a lot of other people. I know there's tons of people that saw it coming, but for me, with all the movies I watch, I expect them to throw in a bullshit tragedy at the end. I expected that. I didn't expect the fuzzy ending. And when the fuzzy ending happened, I was like, I feel nice now. I feel happy. And you know what? It helped me through my depression. And that's probably the biggest reason why it's my favorite game. It impacted me. It made my life better. When a game can change a person for the better, that person owes something to that game. That game becomes a part of you. And those are the best ones, in my opinion. Those are the best ones. But this game isn't perfect. It has gotten some criticisms, and some of them are legitimate. Let me address some of those. Some people would say, how can you choose your favorite game as a a short game, one that's only an hour and a half long. Folks, length does not always mean depth or powerful or quality. It's not. This is a quality thing, not a quantity thing. Games are about quality, in my opinion. Almost every art form, in my opinion, is about quality, not quantity. A 1-hour game can leave me with a bigger impact than a 40-hour game. I know this because my previous choice for favorite game of the year was Grand Theft Auto 5, which I spent 40, 50, 60 hours on. I don't remember exactly how much, but I spent a lot of hours on that game. But Gone Home ultimately left me with a bigger impact, even though I've only spent 3 hours on it, and I've played it 3 times. The second thing people will say is, the story is pretentious. It's been done and done and done. For those of you who don't know it, the story is a romance about 2 girls that love each other. They start out as friends, and it develops further than that. They realize we're not straight. Fine. I'm a very liberal-minded person. You know this. I try to keep politics and all that shit out of my channel because this is gaming related. But you gotta know that I'm probably a really liberal guy if I come from the Amazing Atheist audience. It goes without saying. So naturally, I'm all over that stuff. But no. The lesbian story arc is not the reason I liked it, nor does it even contribute to any of the reasons I choose it as my favorite game. In fact, I personally think that the lesbian thing was played so below the radar. I mean, the struggles that they went through had almost nothing to do with the fact that they were lesbian or they loved each other and they were girls. It nothing to do with that. Like, there was barely a little bit mentioned that her parents were in denial about it, but ultimately she did not struggle because of it. The struggle was about the fact that they were going to be separated in a few weeks, and it was building up to that, and she didn't want the other girl to leave. That was the struggle, the fact that she was going to leave. And the final conclusion, in my opinion, the big bang for this game, the big, moment that defines what the story's all about, is about escaping, about getting away, about just running off and doing something adventurous. And I can totally relate to that. I think not enough games, show the fact that people sometimes just want to do what they feel is right, even though it's probably bullshit, even though it's probably not going to work out, even though it's crazy and it's going to lead to bad consequences. Sometimes you gotta do what you want to do, even though your brain is telling you not to. When we're young, we need to make mistakes. We need to fuck up. We need to go out there and just do something out of impulse. Everyone needs that moment. I did that a lot. I drove through the snow in a car with no snow tires from New York to Georgia for someone who was an insipid, immature person who didn't hate me, but treated me like shit. I did that because I wanted to, because I thought in the moment it was right. I've done a lot of stupid shit like that. I've done a lot of stupid adventures like that. And it defines you as a person, man. It really changes you. And it can be for the better, even though it doesn't seem like it at the time. And that's what I love about this game. It's not about all that political bullshit, and it mentions that, but it almost makes fun of it. It flies so below the radar. It's like, it's showing these girls as fallible beings. Like, they're immature, they're not developed, they're young. So, of course, they attach themselves to this riot girl music, which I think is all right, but, obviously it's probably just a phase. They're not going to like that their whole lives. They attach themselves to this feminist stuff. They attach themselves to all this stuff around them, like, just totally against authority, and then they run off and do this thing at the ending. I don't want to spoil it. It's showing youth. It's showing that we fuck up. It's showing that we need this phase. We need this rebellion. It's not about the lesbian stuff. That's my response to that criticism. I don't think the story is nearly as pretentious as people think it is. I don't think it's nearly as overdone as people think it is. I think there are genuinely not a lot of games or even movies that really touch on this. One that I can think of off the top of my head is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my #1 favorite. So yes, I have my reasons for liking this game. It's not perfect. The story can be told out of place if you find the items in the wrong order. There's other problems with it. You know, it crashes sometimes when you try to record it with fraps. I've learned that. But ultimately, I loved this game. I loved how the story played out. I thought it was put together well, especially for a game made by like 3 people. And I don't care if people knock me for choosing it. I don't feel bad for choosing it, and I'll never be ashamed for choosing it. It affected me, and I liked it. What was your favorite game of 2013? I'd love to know. Leave a comment down below, and I'll check it out. Once again, just a reminder, you should also leave a question for me down below. I'm doing that Q&A in a week, and I can't wait to see you then. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy my videos to come. Never trust the crowd, only the investigation. See you later.